Nintendo Switch!
How's it going, everybody? It's Young here with a Nintendo Switch news update. The following information comes from an article written by Laura Kate Dale, who has proven to be a reliable source of leaked Switch information. In her latest article, she took the time to not only round up every rumor she has reported to date, but also to elaborate on how she got the information and to share new details about each rumor. So for those who haven't read the article yet, here's the full summary of Laura Kate Dale's Switch leaks. The article begins with a summary of Laura's sources, labeled Source A, B, C, D, and E. Source A is apparently a European source who is close to an internal Nintendo division, and they apparently have a decent awareness of production, retail hardware, development hardware, and marketing plans. Source B is someone who is close to development at a Ubisoft studio, which is how Laura managed to get so much Ubisoft-related information. Laura also noted that Source B is primarily aware of development kits. Source C is apparently connected to a large indie developer, Source D to a manufacturing partner, and Source E helped Laura leak Until Dawn Rush of Blood 1 week prior to its announcement way back in 2015. Laura also mentioned that all of her sources are different from Emily Rogers and Tom Phillips from Eurogamer, both of who have also leaked accurate Switch news before and after the console's announcement, and both of who Laura will occasionally contact to match information. So with all that out of the way, the article dives into one of Laura's first major leaks that proved her legitimacy. On October 19th, 2016 at 7:51 p.m., one day before the Switch announcement, Laura tweeted a report stating that based on what she heard, Nintendo NX may be officially unveiled the following day. Only 40 minutes later, Nintendo of America announced that Nintendo NX would officially be unveiled through a preview trailer that would be made public the following day on October 20th, 2016 at 10 a.m. Eastern and 7 a.m. Pacific. Laura further elaborated in the Roundup article that she was given this information an hour before Nintendo's official announcement by Source A, who had not seen the trailer but had it described to them by someone else, and she was also told that the 3 minutes trailer would show Zelda Breath of the Wild running on the console, focus on revealing the hybrid nature of the device, confirm the console's use of cartridges, and reaffirm a launch month but not specify a date or price, all of which turned out to be true, by the way. Laura was apparently even told of the Switch name by Source A, although she wasn't confident enough to release that information because it came from a single source and because she couldn't find anything like domain redirects, trademarks, references, and any kind of details corroborating the Switch name. Using the information she had, after Nintendo of America officially announced the upcoming NX reveal, she posted the following string of tweets. NX not using Wii line branding. Do not expect NX hardware spec details tomorrow. Trailer will be 3 minutes focused on what it looks like, is, does, and is called. The home console branding is so it's thought of as a portable home console, not as a handheld with TV play first. I've heard an alleged NX name from a single source, not confident enough in it without a second source to share it. Thus concluded all the information that yielded from October 19th, 2016, and then the following day, on the morning of October 20th, 2016, Nintendo released the Switch trailer that would confirm Laura's information. Shortly after the unveiling, Laura tweeted the following. I know it's easy for me to say so now, but Switch is the name I heard floating around pre-announcement. Single source, no sign of registration/trademark for it. I was not confident enough to run it. Feel confident I did the right thing. The article then proceeded by detailing some rumors provided by Source B as far back as August 30th, 2016. On this date, Laura published the following article in which she shared a sketch of the NX provided by Source B, featuring offset analog sticks, a split D-pad, and a share button, among other things. On the topic of the share button, the article reported that it will allow players to upload still images and video directly to Miiverse, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, and that it will also be possible to save images or video to external memory devices, for easier transfer to PC. While we still don't have any official details on what the button does, we do know based on recent patents that the circular button on the left Joy-Con is indeed a record button. So many of the information reported in Laura's August 30th article is probably accurate, not to mention that the analog stick and button layout, as well as the overall shape of the console seen in the sketch, matches up perfectly with the final product, so Source B definitely has some merit. Back to the Roundup article, Laura did mention that she failed to report the plus and minus buttons located on the top of the detachable controllers. The reason for this is that they were apparently not present in early development hardware. Other than that, however, she was confident in sharing Source B's sketch and the share button report because all that information had also been corroborated by sources A and C. After a streak of accurate information, things got a bit dicey the following day on August 31st, 2016. On that date, Laura shared information from a source that proved to be unreliable, labeled Source F in the Roundup article. Basically, what happened was that after Source F shared this diagram with Laura, she then had Source D take a look at it for corroboration, who stated that it looks about right. Instead of pressing for further details, Laura deemed the vague reply good enough to share Source F's diagram with the public. But a short while later, Laura came to learn that Source F's information was unreliable and updated the August 31st article to reflect that. She admits in this Roundup article that she fucked up with this one. Looking at this diagram today, it shouldn't take long to discern the many inaccuracies. The placement of things like the headphone jack, the power button, the cartridge slot, the TV connector, which is actually a USB Type-C port, and the microSD card slot are all completely wrong. Not to mention that the right analog stick should be offset from the left, and the start and select buttons should be plus and minus buttons placed on the top of each respective Joy-Con controller. So yeah, Source F ended up being one of the few blunders that Laura made throughout her Switch reporting. However, one piece of information that Laura is still confident about from the August 31st article is the report that Nintendo Switch will be region-free. This information did not come from Source F, but was instead confirmed by reliable sources A, B, and E. There have also been outlets other than Laura who have reported similar information based on their own sources, so I feel confident in saying that the Nintendo Switch will most likely be region-free, which is awesome. Moving along, we are taken further back in time as the Roundup article discusses a report that Laura published on August 26, 2016, a month after Eurogamer accurately reported that Nintendo NX will be a console portable hybrid with detachable controllers, among other things. Laura's August 26th article further expanded on Eurogamer's report by stating that the detachable controllers will support motion controls and feature some kind of advanced vibration force feedback that has been described to feel very similar to the vibration feedback from the HTC Vive controllers, which alter intensity, pulsing patterns, and duration of vibration to mimic the sensation of a range of different movement types. As someone who owns a Vive, I can confirm that this type of vibration feedback is indeed superior to typical rumble, making certain actions like, say, drawing a bow, feel vastly more immersive and realistic. The Roundup article was then quick to point out that motion controls and vibration feedback have been confirmed by recent Switch patents, which I detailed extensively in a previous video. Furthermore, this information was also confirmed by sources A and B, both of which are reliable. Laura further elaborated that Source B from Ubisoft stated that Just Dance 2017 will support Joy-Cons for multiplayer, while Source A from Nintendo confirmed that Joy-Cons will be phasing out Wii Remotes over time. As for why the motion control capabilities weren't shown off on the Switch trailer, Source A stated that Nintendo didn't want to shift focus away from the device's main selling point, which is its hybrid nature and its various console and portable configurations. Nintendo will apparently confirm motion support before the console launches, but doesn't want the brand messaging for the Switch to be confused in the early stages. Source A also confirmed to Laura that games like Splatoon, Mario Kart, and Zelda Breath of the Wild will all make use of Switch's motion controls for things like gyro aiming, steering, the magnet ability in Zelda Breath of the Wild, and more. The Roundup article's next topic is about a report that Laura published on October 17th, 2016, 3 days before the Switch was officially announced, and the article stated that a new Beyond Good and Evil game was in the works as an NX exclusive. According to the October 17th article, the game is set to be more of a standalone reboot than a traditional sequel, with the planned direction for the game being that it will partially retell Jade's origin story, flesh out Paige's backstory, and continue to extrapolate on the ending of the original game. The intention is apparently to make a Beyond Good and Evil game and story that both newcomers and veterans will be able to jump into, which is partly why the game will feature a subtitle rather than a number at the end of the title. Laura also reported that the game is intended to provide closure to fans of the original wondering what the cliffhanger at the end meant for the series' ongoing plot. The October 17th article finally concluded by stating that there is a new CG trailer in the works for the game that is planned to be less of a story or gameplay reveal and more of a tone piece, and that the new Beyond Good and Evil game is currently aiming for a summer 2018 release window. Going back on the Roundup article, Laura stated that this information was entirely supplied by Source B from Ubisoft. The source was still unclear on whether a deal had officially been made in the end, but was able to show verifiable evidence that a meeting took place to discuss NX exclusivity rights for the game. Laura further elaborated by stating that from what she understands based on Source B's information, the past 6 months have dealt in legal and pre-development discussions of budget and direction, project scope, and how much of previous development efforts could be salvaged. You may recall that a new Beyond Good and Evil game was teased a while back, but the title has since gone radio silent. According to Laura's source, the various art teases towards the end of September 2016 by project lead Michelle Ansel marked a point in which all parties were confident that they could re-announce the title. Moving on, the Roundup article addresses an alleged leaked image of an NX dev kit that made its way through the internet shortly before the Switch was unveiled on October 20th, 2016. That same day, Laura Kate Dale tweeted, "Do not believe the NX dev kit image going around today, which came from V. Can 100% confirm it's not real." The article further elaborated by stating that both Source B and C told her that this image is not a development kit and that it was probably mocked up based on rumors. I will say this, the tablet portion does look very similar to the final product, from the overall shape to features on the top of the device like the shape and placement of the cartridge slot, 3.5mm headphone jack, the air vent grill, the volume buttons, and the power button. That's one hell of a mock-up to make based on just a few rumors. Even more compelling is that this image was released hours before the Switch trailer was officially unveiled. Not like it matters now, but interesting to note nonetheless. A few hours after tweeting about the alleged dev kit, Laura tweeted about the Switch likely featuring a touchscreen, which Nintendo has yet to officially confirm. She tweeted, "I am very confident in saying that the Nintendo Switch screen is a touchscreen, but that is not the core to most gameplay. It'll be there for menus, for drawing, for certain games like Mario Maker, Port, etc. I'm confident in saying that the Nintendo Switch's screen is a multi-touch screen. As all Nintendo Switch games need to be playable with a handheld in the console dock, all Switch games will be playable without touch." The article elaborated that this information came from Source A, who knew about the Switch reveal trailer before the official announcement. Shortly after the touchscreen tweet, Laura then tweeted, "RE, dock. What I've heard is additional processing lacking specifics at the moment for when docked. However, would expect a few seconds to switch. If there is additional processing in the dock, I would expect at least a few seconds to swap handheld to console, etc." According to the Roundup article, this information was provided by sources A, B, and D, all of which claimed that the hardware has an easier time running docked compared to when undocked. Based on recent patents, the general consensus is that when docked, the Switch's GPU and CPU will be able to run at higher clock speeds since the console doesn't have to worry about heat dissipation and battery power. So it's not so much that the dock grants the Switch additional power through extra hardware, but rather establishes an environment in which the Switch can run at full power. In portable mode, on the other hand, to ensure less heat is dissipated and less battery is wasted, the console will run at around 40% 50% of its full capacity, which lines up with how 720p is around 40% of the amount of pixels found in 1080p, suggesting that the Switch tablet may in fact have a 720p screen. Speaking of clock speeds, that's exactly what the Roundup article summarizes in the next section. Aside from the December 2016 patents, Laura also received corroboration from source A, who stated that while the Switch is docked via USB-C, clock speeds and fan speeds will increase to facilitate 1080p gaming. Laura did misreport in her December 6th article that the dock will have its own internal fan, which we learned isn't true from the patents, and which she was quick to admit. But other than that, Source A has been pretty spot on. The article then takes us back to a string of tweets from October 20th. Shortly after tweeting about the Switch being more powerful when docked, Laura tweeted about battery life, stating that from what she heard, it's mediocre. The Roundup article further elaborated by stating that the term mediocre comes from source A, while source B specified a maximum battery life of 3 hours. Laura then elaborated that she believes 3 hours is the minimum battery life you'll get when the system is running at max clock speeds while undocked, as was in developer test cases. So at least 3 hours of battery life is what Laura is reporting for Switch, with an average battery life still unknown, which I'm assuming will be more than 3 hours based on Laura's report. Following her battery life tweet, less than an hour later, Laura then posted a tweet corroborating specs reported by Emily Rogers. For those who don't know about Emily Rogers, she is a well-known industry insider who has made some accurate leaks and reports about the Nintendo Switch, and she has a blog where she posts updates. Here are the specs posted by Emily that Laura was referencing, which comes from a blog post published on September 2nd, 2016, before the Switch was officially announced. According to Emily, you can expect the following things from the final retail version of the Switch. Custom NVIDIA GPU chip, confirmed after Switch announcement. No region lock. 6.2-inch multi-touch screen with no mention of stylus, confirmed by patents. A touchscreen with 720p resolution. 32GB of built-in internal storage. SD card support, pretty much confirmed. USB 2.0 and 3.0 support, with one of each found on the dock itself, confirmed by Switch announcement. A thickness of 14 to 15 millimeters. An analog stick that will be below the face buttons, confirmed by Switch announcement. No camera or microphone built into the Switch tablet. Cooling that is still a little noisy. Detachable controllers featuring motion controls and next-gen vibration technology that corroborates Laura's report from back then, confirmed by Switch patents. A share or social button that also corroborates a report by Laura. At least 2 shoulder buttons, confirmed by Switch announcement. Mediocre battery life. Raw power that's below PS4 and Xbox One level, pretty much confirmed, and support for Unreal Engine 4 and Unity Engine, also confirmed by Switch announcement. Going back to the Roundup article, according to Laura, Emily's specs were also corroborated by sources A, B, and C, with source A mentioning that it's pretty much the final hardware retail specs. The next topic is Laura's report stating that information like price, date, specs, and specific games can be expected at an upcoming investors meeting later in October 2016. This report was quickly denied by Nintendo, according to Wall Street journalist Takashi Mochizuki. Sure enough, the investors meeting eventually came and went, and no significant new information was revealed. This was another one of those few times that Laura rushed a report, which she admitted as much. Now here's an interesting topic. Something that Laura was told by Source A and later reported on October 22nd, 2 days after the Switch announcement, was the mechanism by which the Switch tablet will be docked in a stable manner. If you look at the bottom of the Switch, it's possible to see 4 points of interest, labeled red, blue, and green in Laura's diagram. The green here is actually a sticker with a barcode, I believe, not a port, but the blue and red are important. According to Laura, the tablet's blue slots are for pins located in the dock to fit into in order to stabilize the console to prevent damaging the red port, which we now know to be USB-C. How does the dock ensure proper alignment with all these connectors, you ask? The answer apparently lies on these protrusions that can be found on the dock, which somehow uses grooves found on the Switch tablet to help guide it into the proper position. Not much additional details were provided, but Laura states in the Roundup article that while some of the specifics on positioning and shape differ, the report is backed up by recent patents, which confirm that stabilization pins are used to ensure that the system is docked securely without damaging other connectors. This information was also apparently corroborated by Source A. Next up, the article talks about reports of Wii Remote-like IR pointer functionality that can be found on the bottom of the right Joy-Con, which Laura talked about through an article published on October 24, 2016, where she stated that it would function as an alternative to touch functionalities for when the tablet is docked and out of reach, with a docked tablet itself emitting IR lights in a similar fashion to Wii's sensor bar for the IR pointer to interact with. The Roundup article mentions that the recent patents pretty much confirm this feature and mentions that Laura's initial information from her October 24th report came from Source A. Also coming from Source A is that the Switch will not launch with any kind of handheld-only package. This makes sense considering that Nintendo is advertising the Switch as a home console that can be taken on the go, which makes the dock an integral part of that whole experience. Furthermore, Source A told Laura that Nintendo Switch will support up to 128GB microSD cards, which she then reported through an article published on October 27, 2016. It was also through this article that Laura reported what many suspected, that the microSD card slot would reside behind the Switch's kickstand. Laura further elaborates in the Roundup article by stating that this information was corroborated by the recent patents, which is true. She also maintained that from an official standpoint, 128GB will be the maximum size supported, although she doesn't rule out the possibility of larger-sized microSD cards functioning if correctly formatted. But larger sizes won't be officially supported due to their exponential price increase from 128GB. I myself have a 256GB microSD card sitting around, so here's hoping that it can properly be formatted to function on the Switch. Another report that Laura published on October 27th, based on information provided by Source A, is that the Switch won't support external USB drives. This is because Nintendo doesn't want any hassles when it comes to undocking the Switch instantly. After all, since the hard drive would have to be connected to the Switch dock rather than directly to the Switch tablet, undocking the tablet while playing a game off of a hard drive could lend to all kinds of complications. The Roundup article then takes us to November. On November 14, 2016, Laura published an article reporting a possible entry price of £199.99 for the Switch in the UK based on information she received from a source at UK retailer Game. Her article also reported a more expensive SKU priced at £249.99 that includes more internal storage and comes bundled with a game. One last detail was that the Switch Pro controllers may be sold at a price point of £39.99. If we convert all these numbers to US dollars, this would in theory put the Switch at a price of $249.99 and $299.99 for the cheaper and more expensive SKUs respectively, and a price of $49.99 for a Pro controller. Now, going back to the Roundup article, Laura elaborated that she ran with this story because Source A told her that UK retail chains had been given wholesale pricing information for the Switch at a similar time that a source from UK retailer Game told her that they had received wholesale pricing info. It all just seemed to line up. The game's source apparently told her that they expected an entry price point of £199.99, although it wasn't made 100% clear if that was a definitive wholesale price or how much profit the retail chain expected to make with each unit sold. Interesting to note, however, is that the PR of the game retail chain contacted Laura with an email stating that her information was wrong and threatened with legal action before they later sent another email with an apology for the threatening tone. Make of that what you will. Now, while we are on the topic of a more expensive Switch SKU with a game packed in, the next topic talks about a report that Laura published on November 16, 2016, where she detailed things like how Zelda would miss a March 2016 launch, how the Mario titles seen in the Switch trailer and Skyrim were being prepped for launch, and how Splatoon could be the game that comes bundled with the more expensive Switch SKU. Some specific details about the games were also provided. Laura reported that the new Mario game will feature a 3D open-world hub akin to Super Mario 64, that Splatoon will feature a new 1v1 mode for short local multiplayer matches, and that Skyrim will be based off of the special edition released on other platforms and feature limited mod support sometime after launch. This is where Laura admits that some inaccurate information might have begun to seep through her reports, dubbing the source of misinformation Source G. Apparently, sources A and G gave Laura the information that she reported in her November 16th article about Mario, Zelda, and Splatoon and Skyrim. But strangely, while Source G was definitely confirmed to work for Nintendo of Europe, they seemed very forthcoming with their information, seemingly unconcerned about protecting themselves from being found out. One theory is that Nintendo purposely fed false information internally, and that Source G from Nintendo intentionally fed Laura false information in an attempt to root out her sources, Source A in particular, who is from Nintendo. Laura isn't 100% sure, but she did say that she is no longer confident about the accuracy of her November 16th report. 2 days later, on November 18th, Laura published this article reporting that Ubisoft is developing some kind of Rabbids Mario crossover RPG for the Switch to be ready on launch day with a working title of Mario RPG Invasion of the Rabbids. The article described that the title will focus on the Mario universe being invaded by Ubisoft's Rabbids characters, some friend and some foe, and will feature a new Bowser form based around the design of the Rabbids as a recurring boss enemy. The game will also allegedly feature numerous cameo appearances from the Mario universe, but the core party will consist of numerous more minor characters, although there will be a particular focus on Yoshi as a primary party member alongside a playable Rabbid. It was also detailed that there will be a playable demo ready for the title following the January 12th event, and that the game will make use of Joy-Con's advanced vibration feedback to make you feel like Rabbids are infesting your system or something. The Roundup article further elaborates by stating that this Mario Rabbids RPG crossover title was confirmed by sources A and B, who are from Nintendo and Ubisoft, respectively. Both sources also told Laura that Grant Kirkhope, who did the music for games like GoldenEye 64, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, and Civilization Beyond Earth, will be the main composer of this game, which he tweeted about on December 30th, 2016. Following Laura's November 18th report regarding the Mario RPG crossover game, her next big report was published on December 6th, 2016, when she reported that From Software managed to get Dark Souls 3 running on Switch at a level of performance that they're happy with and are possibly considering porting over the whole trilogy to Switch depending on how well the console sells after launch. The Roundup article states that this information was provided by a news source, Source H, who provided demonstrable evidence to Laura that she was asked not to make public. According to Laura, based on what she was shown, she believes this report. The Roundup article then takes us back in time a bit to November 2nd, 2016, which was when Laura tweeted that she's being told March 17th is the currently planned Switch launch day in Europe, with a worldwide release happening that same week, although not the same date in all regions. This information also came from Source A and was later corroborated by Source B after they informed her that the Mario Rabbids crossover RPG game's planned release date was also March 17th, and with the game being rumored to launch the same day as the Switch, it all just seems to line up. This then brings us to another Switch report that Laura published a few days later on November 9th, 2016, where she reported that the remaining unreleased Super Smash amiibos have been delayed until the Switch port of Smash Bros. 4 arrives in 2017. According to the Roundup article, this information was provided by Source A and later corroborated by another source who wished not to be mentioned. Laura further elaborated by stating that she still believes that the Smash 4 port will launch within 6 months after the Switch's launch, and that the Bayonetta and Cloud amiibos are releasing that same day. Moving on, the Roundup article skips forward all the way to November 20th, 2016, when Laura Kate Dale tweeted what she believed will be the Switch lineup based on her information and insight. She did elaborate in the Roundup article that one thing she now believes is inaccurate is how Mario is listed as a launch title and Zelda as a launch window title. She now suspects that Zelda will be ready for launch, while Mario will be pushed back to space out the Switch launch lineup. She believes that the reason for the discrepancy has something to do with internal issues that made it look like Zelda would miss launch, issues that have since been solved. But other than that, she is sure that Mario Rabbids RPG, Skyrim, and Just Dance 2017 will all be day one launch titles, that a Smash 4 port, Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy, a Mario Kart 8 port, a Xenoblade X port, and a Mario Maker port will launch within the first 6 months, that Pokemon Stars and a new Pikmin game will launch sometime in 2017, and that a new Beyond Good and Evil game, which is said to be a semi-reboot and a Switch exclusive, will launch in 2018. The Roundup article then takes us back in time all the way to October 21st, 2016, a day after the Switch was officially announced. In a tweet, Laura stated that from her understanding, the Switch Joy-Con triggers will be analog in the final hardware, and she further elaborated in the article that she still believes this to be true because of reports that GameCube Virtual Console support will be coming to the Switch, which would necessitate analog triggers. Furthermore, many of our reliable sources have also insisted on analog triggers being present. We are then fast-forwarded all the way to December 26th, 2016, when Laura Kate Dale hosted an Ask Me Anything session over at Reddit. Once again, the only information that she reiterated as inaccurate is the one about Zelda not being ready for launch. However, she still maintains that there is at least one new unexpected IP that hasn't been leaked, which is set to be revealed during the January 12th event, that there are 3 third-party exclusives coming to Switch, ones that you shouldn't hold your breath for quality, that there is a 1-minute Beyond Good and Evil teaser being prepped for the January 12th event, as corroborated by Source B and a second source she cannot talk about, that Monolith is working on a brand new title for Switch with a similar combat system to Xenoblade X, and that you shouldn't expect anything from Platinum during the January 12th event, as corroborated by Source A and another source from Platinum. Now, here's a big one. The next report that the Roundup article details is that Mother 3 for the Switch Virtual Console will be confirmed during the January 12th event, with a planned release window of Q2 2017. According to Laura, 3 different sources told her the exact same information. She was also told that the game features a new translation rather than the existing fan translation, and that the title has been ready to be published for months now. Laura also explained why reports from other sources stating that Mother 3 will be releasing on Wii U Virtual Console didn't pan out. Apparently, once Nintendo saw that Wii U wasn't going to pick up steam, they decided to shelve the title and reserve it for Switch. Laura also mentioned that she is aware that many before her have tried reporting this game without success, so she emphasized that she doesn't take this report lightly. She finally concluded by stating that while the game will be announced during the January 12th event, no release date will be provided, with that information being reserved for E3 2017. The Roundup article then discusses her updated views on the information that she reported during her interview with YouTuber Obi-Wan Plays. She states how the record button was pretty much confirmed by the recent patents, how her report of Dina eliminating friend codes comes from Source A as well as finalized Switch materials from North America, how alleged leaks from user Genos are all fake, how Bluetooth support was confirmed by recent FCC filings for Switch, how Joy-Cons being available separately at launch was confirmed by Source A and a manufacturing source, how Switch docks not being sold separately until 6 months have passed since launch was confirmed by Source A, manufacturing and finalized Switch materials, how Switch only launching with a gray color was confirmed by Source A, the manufacturing source, the source from UK retailer Game, and finalized Switch materials, and finally, how information regarding the Switch's 32GB entry model was relayed by Source A and Source B, although Laura has not been able to confirm this particular information based on retail or development hardware. This brings us to our final part of the Laura Kate Dale rumor roundup. On January 3rd, 2017, Laura tweeted the following regarding some of Switch's upcoming games. Beyond Good and Evil 2 codename is Odyssey, exclusive to Switch for 12 months only, retail and digital versions. After 12 months, digital on PS4 and Xbox One. Beyond Good and Evil 2 teaser is done, likely to be at the end of the January 12th event. PC port after 12 months 2 too, sorry about forgetting to add this. Rayman Legends Switch port is being announced during the January 12th event for Q2 release. Rabbids Kingdom Battle is the title of that Rabbids Mario RPG. I have one source telling me that it may get pushed to September. Laura elaborated in the Roundup article that all of this information was verified by the Ubisoft source, Source B, and that it's the most up-to-date information she has on these respective titles. Thus concludes this roundup of Laura Kate Dale's Switch leaks. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this summary useful, especially with the January 12th Switch event looming on the horizon, where Laura and many other sources' credibility will be put to the test. I for one think that Laura has shown enough credibility through her Switch coverage and has been very transparent about her leaks and their origin to warrant some credit. I mean, sure, she may have misreported a couple things here and there, but these are few and far between, and when she does make a mistake, Laura is quick to make her errors known and take responsibility. So all in all, I'm very grateful for her efforts, and I think she's been quite helpful in making the wait for the Switch bearable. Regardless, Nintendo will blow the lid on the Switch in just a few days, so if you want to stay fully updated on the upcoming onslaught of Switch news, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah! I'll see you guys next time. Young out!